Welcome back. Today in our Sunday Spotlight, the Brian Dagle Foundation marks 10 years helping those reeling after the deaths of a loved one, especially by suicide. The group was formed by Irr Dagle, who experienced that pain following the death of her 19-year-old son, Brian, back in 2011. Irr joins me this morning. As I was preparing for this, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
As I was preparing for this, I thought so many charities, it would just be a big cause for celebration. I know it is for you because you've accomplished so much, but it also is time that's passed since you lost Brian.
Yes.
Is it a conflicted moment for you in some ways?
It's always bittersweet, right? It's been 13 years since we lost Brian, so every year it's a, one step closer. He was 19, so it gets further and further out from when he's been here. So the 10 years is definitely bittersweet for us. It's beautiful, but it's hard.
But it's also a testament to all the good works that the foundation that bears his name has done. 10 years is an incredible accomplishment for any charity, but to be able to do it, and I told you before we started, I looked at some of the programs and support groups. I encourage everyone to check out your website. It's incredible. There's a huge offering on there. Tell us about the mission.
So the mission is to support loved ones, support people who are grieving the loss of a loved one, as well as we do education on mental health and suicide awareness throughout the state. So our group started, when we started 10 years ago, we had maybe 2 or 3 groups. Now, as you can see, the numbers are, probably 15 or more. Actually, we reached over 1,000 people last year. Over 1,000 people walked through our doors who were grieving the loss of somebody, and that's huge.
And I think you're uniquely situated to be able to say, I know what those people are facing, and to be able to provide that help because of that knowledge, it must be especially gratifying to you.
It is. I don't know what I would do without having the foundation as far as my healing. So people say to me, how can you do that? It's so sad. But yes, it's sad, but people need support. I remember those days when I was alone and felt like I had nobody and I was all alone in my grief. So being able to support somebody, it's just what I want to do.
And the offerings are support groups for, whether you've lost someone to suicide or lost someone to cancer. There's all sorts of different groups, but also for first responders to be able to talk about grief that they are experiencing. There's yoga. There's all sorts of training for mental health professionals on how to deal with people who are grieving. That spectrum, it seems that maybe one of the big takeaways of your 10 years is that there's a need.
There's a big need. And so that's what I felt that we were able to do. Not that we have done amazing things, but we created a space to fill that need for so many people.
Tell me about there is a big celebration. And you said it's bittersweet, but it is worth celebrating that accomplishment, and there's a big celebration coming up at the Gard Arts Center in New London. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's at the Gard Arts Center. When we were planning a 10th celebration, I don't like to do anything that's really going to put the spotlight on us so much. It's really on the spotlight on the people who have walked through our doors. So helping all the people who have struggled and honoring those people for their braveness and be able to walk through the doors. So
we have a graphic here that shows some of the information. It's happening Saturday, March 15th. There's the reception. There's a concert, so some Irish music at 8. And you're still trying to get people to buy some tickets and help you. How can they do that? Go to the website?
So they can go to our website. There's a link to the tickets on there, or you can go to the Gard Arts as well. Join us for our celebration beforehand from 5:30 to 7:30. We'll be having a special reception where people who have attended our groups and our programs are going to say a few words.
Do you, I asked you about it through the lens of your experience, but to recognize all the people who have benefited and who are going to be coming out there, all of those people needed your services, many of them because something tragic or very, very sad happened in their life. So to have this, is there an added meaning that it's even more than just, hey, we've done 10 years and look at all of this?
Absolutely, because that's why we do it, for these people. It's not to put any celebration on us, it's for these people who are able to come to us and who got the support and who are doing okay.
And you have a band playing that night as well?
Yeah, so it's an Irish performance group from Canada, and when we were looking at doing it, Brian loved his Irish heritage, so it just worked out perfectly that this band was playing when we wanted to celebrate. So we're going to have a lot of fun. And
we've done these interviews, you and I, and events together, and I always think it's important to tell us a little bit about Brian, because he is the namesake of this foundation, but he's also your kid, and tell us a little bit about Brian.
So Brian was 19 years old. He was a great kid. He had just such a beautiful personality, just bigger than life, everybody's best friend, but yet underneath he was struggling with thoughts of anxiety and depression, but he didn't know how to share it. He was always looking after everybody else, taking care of everybody else. So he was just an amazing young man.
In all your education that you've provided to others, are you able, if someone says to you, Ann, what are some tips that we should know, whether it's dealing with our own struggles or maybe a loved one? Is there something that you share, just a few bullet points?
One thing I always say to people is that if I knew then what I know now about mental health and depression, maybe my life would be different.
And is there something that should people ask a loved one if they're struggling? Should they reach out? Like, what are some tips for somebody who says, gosh, Ann, that sounds like me?
I offer a training on that. It's called QPR. It's how to ask that question, persuade, and refer. So you ask a person, are you thinking about hurting yourself? You persuade them to get help, and then you refer them to get help. And through that training, it offers warning signs and risk factors and things that I didn't know back then.
And of course, there's the great 988 helpline.
Yes.
If anyone is struggling right now, they can always dial that number on their phone and get some resources. And as I said at the beginning, your website is a fabulous resource, tons of great information and information about all those great groups. So give us the website address again. People can go there and buy tickets?
Yes, brianshealinghearts.org.
All right.
Yep, and 988 too. Thank you.
All right, there you go. So hopefully we'll have a sellout for the big event.
I
We
hope
appreciate
so.
you coming on. Your mission is one of my favorites, and I think it's so important to talk about. Ann Dagle, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Eric.
That is, again, let's give you that information real quick. The 10-year celebration of the Brian Dagle Foundation is taking place at the Gard Arts Center, New London on Saturday, March 15th. For information, head to brianshealinghearts.org/10 years. That is CT25 for this week. CBS Sunday Morning is next. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll meet you back here in Studio A next Sunday morning.